So the next question is Austin Gallus. Any thoughts on the different ways trans men and trans women are dealt with by gender critical? Yes, we could do a whole episode on this. Do you want to say anything quickly?
So just the summary is trans men are like often just kind of obscured and ignored in this, but except for when it comes to children and young people. It's like the center is transing young lesbians. They just call young trans men young lesbians.
Yeah, even if they're gay or straight. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the thought, I think, is that we have these like poor misguided deers who are being misled possibly by these like trans women Pied Pipers.
Yeah. But the reason that you end up with this, the focus on trans men is all about children, the focus on trans women is all about adults, is because trans women, they're trying to sell as perverts. And it's very hard to say your 6-year-old child is a pervert. Like they will say that. I've had so many people tell me when I say, well, I knew that I wanted to be a woman when I was like 6 or 7. They're like, well, you were a pervert at 6 or 7. Like, it's mad. But it's harder to sell. And the majority idea of trans women is this idea of like a 45-year-old man in a dress who is a pervert. Whereas the idea of trans men, like they're trying to sell them as, like you're saying, this confused, misguided, they don't know what they're doing. Like it's a very misogynistic take on women not being able to have an opinion, which is because they view trans men as women. And that's very harder to sell when it's a 45-year-old trans man. So it's easier to sell as a child. So that's, although these views do happen the other way around, like they will just straight out say that a 12-year-old trans girl is a pervert, and they will say that a 45-year-old trans man who's been a man for 15 years is just confused. But it doesn't land as well as the other way around.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, I think like the kind of like Ray Blanchard like typology of trans women from the 80s, I guess, I think still is very popular in this movement. That typically is that like all trans women are sexually motivated one way or another. Trans women attracted to men are like actually gay.
So gay they can't function, and they want straight men.
Who are like, who have transitioned in order to be able to date more men. And then trans women who are attracted to women have the sexual fetish of seeing themselves as women. And the psychology like does not predict the existence of trans men, and it is a problem for the theory that trans men exist. But then the way it's incorporated is like, oh well, that the trans women have made the trans men.
Yeah, to validate themselves.
Yes.
There's on the transition so you can date more men thing. It's just maybe just look at how easy it is to date a man as a gay man and as a trans woman, and come back to us when you've found out.